We're going to draw out all possible carboxylic acid and ester isomers for C4H8O2 in this video. Before we begin, how many isomers do you think we will get? Stay tuned until the end to compare notes. Let's begin. Quick recap. Carboxylic acid has a carboxyl functional group which is C double bond O connected to OH, whereas ester is C double bond O connected to OC. The difference between carboxylic acid and ester is carboxylic acid has a H connected to that O, whereas ester has a C connected to O. Another thing to note is that for carboxylic acid, that COOH group, which is called carboxyl group, it's always at carbon number 1. So let's start with carboxylic acid. Since we have 4 carbons, let's place the COOH group at the beginning, and then we'll add in the remaining carbons in a row like this. That's our first carboxylic acid isomer, having a 4 carbon chain. 4 carbon chain because we have 4 carbons straight in a row. Now, instead of placing all 4 carbons in a row, we can actually place 3 carbons in a row and then stick the 4th carbon like this on carbon 2. That will give us another isomer. What if we were to stick that extra carbon on carbon 3? It's actually the same as our first structure. Notice it's a 4 carbon chain. So it looks like we are done drawing the carboxylic acids. Let's fill in with the hydrogens. And here we go, the 2 structures for carboxylic acid. Let's move on to ester. For ester, the functional group is COOC. So let's start by placing that at the beginning. We've already used up 2 carbon and 2 oxygen so far. So for the remaining 2 carbons, we are going to place them after that COOC group, like this. So that will give us a 1 plus 3 combo. Retaining the 1 carbon at carbonyl group, let's shorten the 3 carbon to 2 carbon. And we'll place the 3rd carbon like this. That will give us another isomer for ester. Now, since we can't shorten the chain after O anymore, let's move on to 2 carbons on the carbonyl group, like this. So this gives us a 2 plus 2 combo. Looks like we can't shorten the chain, either chain, anymore, so let's move on to 3 carbon on the carbonyl group. And this will give us a 3 plus 1 combo. Since we can't shorten either chain and we need at least 1 carbon after that oxygen, because we want to draw ester, so it looks like we are done. So we fill up these structures with remaining hydrogens and it will give us these. Keep in mind that each carbon makes 4 bonds, so make sure that you check to make sure that every structure has 8 hydrogens, no more and no less. Quick recap on how we drew all 4 isomers for ester. We started with 1 carbon on the carbonyl group and then we placed 3 carbon after oxygen. Since we can shorten the 3 carbon chain to 2 carbon, we then drew the second isomer with the 2 carbon and extra carbon sticking on C1. Since we've exhausted this combo, we then move on to 2 carbon on the carbonyl group. Because we can't shorten the chain anymore, we then move on to 3 carbon on the carbonyl group. We can't have 4 carbon on the carbonyl group for this formula because that would have given us a carboxylic acid instead of esters. So using this systematic way, we know that we have drawn out all possible isomers for ester. To recap, we have drawn out a total of 2 carboxylic acids and 4 esters for C4H8O2. A quick disclaimer though, the numbering that I use in these structures, they are not meant for naming, it's just to help us see how many carbons that we have on each side of the structure, so don't get confused. If you're interested in drawing other isomers aside from carboxylic acid and esters for C4H8O2, let me know in the comments and I'll post a video for it. Hope the video was helpful somehow. Do subscribe and thanks for watching.